Andy, the Mayor of Semarang, Mr. Bernard, Mayor of Kawayan City, and also Miss Abigail, Mayor of Makati City. I would like to welcome you. It's a pleasure indeed to welcome you all to the fourth day of the Open Government Week 2021. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our extraordinary panelists, and also sincerely thanks to UCLG ASPAC for bringing us together today. And then it is my sincere hope that we shall be seeing more of each other in the futures to share more knowledge and come our stronger surviving this pandemic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are going through an unprecedented time in which the livelihood and lives of our people are under threat by the COVID-19 pandemics, while the economic and also social life is in disarray. Further intensified by severe natural disasters, storms, floods, and also droughts. The result of social and economic development accumulated over decades may be swept away during this year. Our countries therefore need years to amend and overcome such losses. Though the COVID-19 pandemic has prevented us from meeting in person, but we still have managed through these modern digital platforms to sustain our dialogue and also cooperation, and also narrowing the geographical distance among nations. Digital technologies have played a vital role in keeping economies, societies working together. Digital government technologies through information sharing and also online services provisions have kept governments and also people connected during the outbreak. Government of Indonesia also encouraged digital innovations to transform the way we operate, share information, make decisions, and also deliver services, as well as to engage and partner with people to solve policy challenges of public concern. Digital government transformation should aim at promoting digital inclusions to ensuring that all people, including vulnerable groups, can access new technologies to improve their well-being. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, open government should be implemented not only for national level, but also in local context. In this unprecedented time, open and responsive government is one of the key success factors in handling the pandemic to gain trust from citizens, which is an important asset not only in handling COVID-19, but also to accelerate regional development, especially during the post-pandemic recovery period. Lastly, in a situation where development challenges and recovery efforts are not easy, there is no other way to do other than to build massive collaboration between actors through various spaces for participations, innovations, starting from the government, private sector, civil society organizations, development partners, academicians, philanthropy, and also wider communities in order to work hand in hand to build a better nations. I hope this webinar will be sharing good insight and also fruitful discussions. So I hope that we have a good discussion, and thank you very much for all your participants in this Open Government Week. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to you, Mbak Ici.
Terima kasih, Mbak Maha. So after this, we're going to have a photo session before everybody leave the meeting or disconnected. So whoever have a connection, a good connection, we can open our video cam and have a photo session for a bit. Okay, maybe the technical team can help me with this. All right, we're going to have the photo for the first page. In 3, 2. Okay. Second page. 1, 2, 3. All right. Maybe we can do it one more time, just to make it safe, to be safe. 1, 2. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. So before we start, we have 3 speakers, incredible speakers. The first speaker will be from Semarang. The second speaker will be from Kawayan City, the Philippines. The third speaker will be from Makati City, from the Philippines as well. And after that, we're going to have a discussion and Q&A. This webinar will be conducted by none other than Ibu Bernadia from UCLG ASPAC. Over to you, Ibu.
Thank you very much, Mbak Ici. Good afternoon, good morning, and greetings from Jakarta. And happy Eid Mubarak for everyone who celebrated Eid. And It's a very, very good time that we are meeting once again and discuss very important topics, which is open governments and open governance. And we discuss also about innovation, local governments innovation. But let me first greet every mayor here. Good afternoon, Mayor IB. Good to see you here. Also welcome Mayor Hendy. I think first time we met in Gwangju. And just to let you know that membership of Semarang was approved just yesterday. So congratulations, you are now a new member of UCLG ASPAC. And
ya, terima kasih
welcome also. Sama-sama. We also welcome Mayor Benrat. We have seen each other for so many times over the past months. Actually, Mayor Benrat joins this Asia Pacific Mayors Academy. This is the initiative of UNESCAP Habitat and UCLG ASPAC together with other partners. I also would like to welcome Dato' Amarullah Kamal. He's actually mayor of Tawau of Borneo, Kalimantan. Welcome, Dato'. Actually, Tawau is close to Indonesia. He once told me that there is a house in there, which in front of the house belongs to Indonesian territory, and then kitchen of the house belongs to Malaysia. This is quite interesting. So welcome, Dato' Amarullah.
Thank you.
Welcome. I also would like to greet everyone here from many cities, members of UCLG ASPAC, and also partners. I'm very sure we will have a very lively discussions today. Let me start by inviting May, and also, of course, greeting Mbak Maharani. Thank you so much. We managed to organize this together with OGI, part of the OGI Talks web series. The title of
for
this
the cooperation with UCLG.
Sama-sama. The title of this event is Local Government Innovations in Improving Accountability Through Digital Governance. So keywords here, innovation, accountability, digital governance. So let me invite the first speaker. It's my great pleasure to invite Mayor of Semarang as the first speaker for this event. Please, Mayor Hendy, you are given 50 minutes for sharing your initiatives. Thank you. Over to you, Mayor.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Bernadia serta kawan-kawan UCLG, para narasumber yang selalu saya hormati dari wali kota dari Filipina maupun dari Malaysia dan China. Izinkan saya menyampaikan materi ini dalam bahasa Indonesia. Tak kenal maka tak sayang, maka izinkan kami memperkenalkan Kota Semarang, ibu kota Provinsi Jawa Tengah, yang mempunyai luas 372,3 km persegi dan ada penduduknya 1,7 juta jiwa. Sebarannya ada di 16 kecamatan dan di 177 kelurahan. Sebagai sebuah perbandingan, Kota Semarang termasuk kota yang luasannya dibandingkan kota besar yang lain sangat luas. 372 dibandingkan kota yang lain.
It's 372 square meters.
Bedaannya hanya penduduk kita jauh lebih kecil. Nah, APBD pemerintah Kota Semarang dari tahun ke tahun kita berupaya terus melakukan peningkatan karena sumber utama pembangunan di wilayah khususnya Kota Semarang salah satunya ditentukan oleh besaran APBD. Akan tetapi meskipun peningkatannya signifikan Bapak Ibu, APBD Kota Semarang ternyata kalah dibandingkan kota-kota besar yang lain. Contohlah, kita tidak akan membandingkan dengan Jakarta yang APBD-nya 70 triliun. Tapi dengan Surabaya kita cuma separuhnya. Dengan Bandung, Bogor kita juga kalah. Bahkan dengan Bekasi, Medan APBD kita kalah jauh. Maka perlu kita lakukan upaya-upaya untuk bisa melakukan percepatan pembangunan di Kota Semarang. Salah satunya adalah merubah struktur APBD yang tadinya lebih tinggi untuk belanja tidak langsung, belanja pegawai, kita coba mulai rubah bahwa APBD ini peruntukannya harus lebih banyak, lebih besar untuk biaya pembangunan atau belanja langsung. Dan kami bisa mencapai itu pada tahun 2013. Yang garis merah itu adalah indikator daripada belanja langsung. Terus kita coba lakukan upaya-upaya tersebut, puncaknya sudah mulai terasa di tahun 2017 sampai dengan 2021. Rata-rata sudah di atas 63%. Selain itu, selain merubah struktur APBD, kita juga membuat gerakan di tahun 2013 yang namanya bergerak bersama. Pemimpin-pemimpin kita zaman dahulu sudah mempunyai sebuah konsep bergerak bersama yang dinamakan gotong royong. Gotong royong di era pemerintahan kami ini terdiri dari pemerintah dengan berbagai kebijakan dan APBD-nya, kemudian kawan-kawan tokoh penduduk, tokoh masyarakat, tokoh agama yang mampu membuat situasi wilayah ini kondusif, kemudian juga perusahaan dengan CSR-nya, perusahaan dengan investasi yang masuk Kota Semarang, serta yang tidak kalah penting adalah teman-teman pewarta atau teman-teman media. Nah, kemudian kami juga melakukan hal-hal yang hari ini menjadi sebuah pilihan yang tidak bisa kita tawar lagi, yaitu kemajuan teknologi informasi. Kami menyebutnya Semarang Smart City. Tahapan Semarang Smart City mulai kita lakukan di tahun 2013. Kita dibantu oleh salah satu BUMN, Telkom, waktu itu kita buat MOU, yang kita lakukan pertama adalah membangun infrastruktur jaringan, hotspot atau free wifi, yang targetnya 10.000, tapi di tahun 2014 sudah terpasang di 2.300 titik. Rata-rata di sekolah, di taman-taman, dan seterusnya. Kemudian juga 2015 kita sudah meluncurkan berbagai aplikasi untuk kemudahan masyarakat. Di tahun 2016 kemudian seluruh ASN atau birokrasi yang ada di pemerintah Kota Semarang ini kita buat komitmen. Mereka semuanya harus terlibat secara langsung terkait dengan Smart City. Nggak peduli, dia sudah uzur, nggak melek teknologi, semuanya kita paksa untuk bisa belajar yang namanya kemajuan teknologi informasi. Kemudian di 2017 kita mulai membuat sistem-sistem yang terintegrasi. Jadi basicnya adalah big data, masing-masing OPD kita integrasikan supaya nanti datanya bisa sama. Dan di tahun 2018 kita mulai wujudkan pelayanan-pelayanan yang lebih open government, terutama untuk melibatkan masyarakat. Kita membuka call center 110 dan juga kanal lapor handy. Di tahun 2019, kemudian kita membangun yang namanya CCTV di 10.500 RT di Kota Semarang. Kita tempatkan semua CCTV, termasuk di kantor-kantor yang ada di Kota Semarang. Dan yang terakhir, kita hari ini terlibat langsung dengan kemajuan teknologi dalam percepatan penanganan COVID-19. Nah, masyarakat dalam hal ini warga Kota Semarang dapat mengawasi secara langsung kinerja pemerintah Kota Semarang. Karena di dalam portal Kota Semarang, kemudian masyarakat bisa klik yang namanya smk.city/CCTV, itu semua proses pelayanan publik di Kota Semarang, khususnya di kecamatan, sudah bisa dilihat masyarakat. Masyarakat kemudian bisa memonitor, terutama apakah pelayanan di situ ramai atau tidak, supaya mereka kemudian bisa menyesuaikan, apalagi hari ini kerumunan massa sangat dibatasi. Kemudian kita juga memanfaatkan CCTV yang sudah terpasang untuk bisa mengatasi problematika yang ada di kota. Semarang ini, kan kalau zaman-zaman kemarin sering ada lagunya Semarang kali ini banjir. Jadi beberapa hujan yang cukup deras kemarin sempat mengakibatkan beberapa ruas jalan Semarang banjir. Tapi dengan CCTV yang ada, kita bisa memantau pompa mana yang berjalan, pompa mana yang tidak berjalan, ruas-ruas jalan mana yang sedang tergenang, itu kemudian kita kerahkan pasukan. Kita kerahkan tim KPU-an kita untuk bisa menyelesaikan inlet yang tertutup atau pompa yang macet karena sampah dan seterusnya. Bahkan di saat era pandemi COVID ini, CCTV pun menjadi sebuah produk yang sangat membantu untuk percepatan pelayanan, terutama di pasar, terutama kemudian di tempat keramaian yang lain. Kita bisa memonitor kerumunan-kerumunan yang kemudian juga terdeteksi masyarakat yang tidak pakai masker. Itu bisa menjadi sebuah prioritas program, kita turunkan tim Satpol di sana, untuk kemudian kita berikan edukasi kepada masyarakat yang bergerombol maupun yang tidak pakai masker. Di saat pandemi ini, kita punya punya portal yang di dalamnya juga ada info seputar COVID-19 di Kota Semarang. Jadi siaga corona Kota Semarang.go.id. Di dalam info seputar Semarang ini, kawan-kawan, Bapak Ibu sekalian, semua masyarakat Semarang bisa memonitor berapa jumlah pasien COVID di Semarang, berapa pertambahan pasien COVID di Semarang, mana yang zona merah, mana yang zona kuning, termasuk di mana saja tempat tidur rumah sakit maupun karantina yang kosong. Bahkan juga bantuan sosial atau sembako yang bisa kemudian dilihat oleh masyarakat, titik-titik di tingkat RT RW yang kemungkinan ada ketimpangan atau distribusi yang tidak baik. Nah, artinya kemajuan teknologi informasi ini sangat membantu kota ini untuk bisa melakukan proses percepatan pelayanan kepada masyarakat. Dan kita kemudian juga mempunyai call center 112 yang terhubung dengan semua instansi, baik itu vertikal maupun instansi horizontal. Ada rumah kebakaran, telepon 112, mobil damkar berangkat. Padamkan, selesai, gratis. Ada orang terkena stroke, mau melahirkan, telepon 112. Kita kirim ambulan hebat, kita kirim dokter yang ada di dalam ambulan hebat, diselesaikan, tidak selesai masuk rumah sakit, semuanya juga gratis. Ada perampokan di sebuah rumah, telepon 112, tersambung dengan kepolisian, polisi datang, dan semuanya bisa dilayani dengan cepat. Hari ini untuk masalah kegawat daruratan, kita punya 16 ambulan hebat, yang ada di, 14 ambulan yang ada di masing-masing kecamatan, dan juga 5 ambulan sepeda motor. Terdiri dari dokter, perawat, driver, dan juga pembantu yang ada di ambulan hebat. Kemudian, kami juga menyiapkan berbagai kanal komunikasi. Antara lain adalah lapor handy. Lapor handy ini sangat penting. Ribuan orang setiap tahun yang kemudian bisa memakai kanal lapor handy, menceritakan kendala infrastruktur yang kurang baik, timbulan PU, datang memperbaiki, atau mungkin menceritakan ada penjualan minuman keras, kemudian Satpol datang untuk menyelesaikan, dan ini semua aduan kita selesaikan maksimal 5 hari. Atau juga bisa memakai musrenbang online. Jadi kalau yang berjenjang, mulai dari rembuk RW, musrenbang kelurahan, musrenbang kecamatan, sampai di tingkat kota, apabila ada beberapa program yang belum sempat dimasukkan di dalam proses musrenbang, masyarakat bisa berpartisipasi secara aktif, yaitu dengan link smg.city/pangripta. Jadi bisa masukkan usulan program. Dari hasil semuanya itu, termasuk kanal aduan dan lain-lain, kita sangat berterima kasih dengan kemajuan teknologi ini, karena bisa menjadi salah satu penentuan kebijakan. Dari semua yang kita resume, akhirnya ada sebuah kebijakan pemerintah Kota Semarang, di mana orang dari mulai lahir sampai meninggal, pemerintah Kota Semarang ada di situ untuk bisa membantu meringankan hal-hal tersebut. Orang melahirkan, tidak punya biaya, maka dengan ambulan hebat bisa dibawa ambulan ke rumah sakit, dan pada saat dia mau dirawat di kelas 3, dia di-cover dengan UHC, Universal Health Coverage. Tidak peduli dia kaya, tidak peduli dia miskin, yang penting mau dirawat di kelas 3, pemerintah Kota Semarang kerjasama dengan BPJS menggratiskan biaya melahirkan. Si anak tersebut kemudian lahir, perlu yang namanya akte kelahiran, dokumen kependudukan. Dukcapil memberikan pelayanan, kemudian semuanya juga gratis. Si anak kemudian tumbuh, harus diimunisasi, divaksin. 37 puskesmas di Kota Semarang menyiapkan vaksin secara gratis. Kemudian setelah si anak itu kemudian harus bersekolah, TK, SD, SMP negeri hari ini di Kota Semarang gratis. Nah, alokasi biaya yang kemarin kita pakai untuk menggratiskan SMA, sekarang kita pakai untuk menggratiskan 80 sekolah swasta yang ada di Kota Semarang, baik itu TK, SD, dan SMP. Kami berencana tahun depan alokasi sekolah swasta gratis bisa menjadi sekitar 150. Setelah bersekolah, kemudian perlu bekerja, syukur bisa diterima jadi pegawai, tapi kalau tidak, kita menyiapkan balai latihan kerja. Kita menyiapkan pelatihan-pelatihan di masing-masing dinas yang bisa dinikmati masyarakat secara gratis, termasuk kredit di bawah, dengan bunga 3% per tahun. Saya rasa ini bunga termurah di Indonesia. Tanpa agunan 5 juta, pakai agunan bisa 100 juta. Kenapa harus kredit? Kami ingin mendidik UMKM ini supaya mampu besar dengan bantuan kredit dari lembaga perbankan. Jadi mereka harus profesional. Tidak ada sekarang bantuan hibah, mereka kemudian asal-asalan membesarkan usahanya, tapi sekarang harus lewat bank teknis dengan cara kredit yang murah bunganya. Setelah itu, kalau misalnya sudah selesai bekerja, kemudian mereka harus ada di dalam sebuah usia lansia, kami punya namanya Kartu Semarang Hebat Lansia. Kartu Semarang Hebat Lansia fungsinya bisa dipakai berobat secara gratis oleh kawan-kawan lansia, kemudian bisa dipakai sebagai identitas waktu memakai transportasi umum di Kota Semarang, cukup bayar 1.000, bisa kemana-mana, dari utara, selatan, barat, timur Kota Semarang. Kemudian juga kartu ini bisa ditunjukkan di dalam setiap kredit pelayanan publik yang ada di Kota Semarang, si lansia itu langsung menempati deretan urutan yang pertama. Nah, setelah lansia biasanya kemudian manusia harus meninggal. Nah, di tempat kami TPU milik pemerintah Kota Semarang, TPU-nya kita gratiskan. Dan ahli waris yang ditinggalkan kita beri bantuan 2,5 juta per kakak. Dari itu semua adalah bagian daripada program yang kita bisa melihat hasil daripada masukan masyarakat. Aduan masyarakat lewat lapor Hendi maupun call center 112. Dan berbagai hal yang kemudian bisa kami sampaikan adalah perkembangan Kota Semarang secara statistik. Mulai dari tahun 2016 ke arah 2019. Angka kemiskinan kita bisa turun. Kita nggak menyampaikan tahun 2020. Karena 2020 semuanya sedang pandemi COVID. Angkanya pasti cukup berubah. Wilayah kumuh bisa kita turunkan dari 294 hektar ke 11 hektar. Pertumbuhan investasi waktu itu meningkat pesat, rata-rata per tahunnya. Indeks kebahagiaannya juga meningkat. Harapan lama sekolahnya meningkat, termasuk pengeluaran per kapita Kota Semarang meningkat. Nah, yang terakhir, di indeks pembangunan manusia, sebuah standar pembangunan yang ada di Indonesia, kami juga mengalami lonjakan yang cukup signifikan. Di tahun 2010, jangankan di tingkat nasional, di Jawa Tengah saja Semarang ketinggalan dari Solo dan Salatiga. Kemudian kita bisa memperbaiki IPM ini. Dari 76,96, kemudian di tahun 2019 IPM Kota Semarang mencapai 83,19. Tidak hanya di atas Solo maupun di atas Salatiga, tapi juga di atas Surabaya dan Bandung. Semuanya karena berdasarkan keterbukaan. Masyarakat bisa melakukan komplain, kemudian kita tindak lanjuti. Masyarakat bisa mengusulkan program, kemudian menjadi sebuah kebijakan, dan tentu saja ini bagian daripada konsep bergerak bersama yang terus kita sampaikan dan kita edukasi kepada masyarakat. Jadi Bu Bernadia, saya rasa prolog kami cukup sekian. Terima kasih, mudah-mudahan sharing ini bermanfaat buat semua peserta webinar yang mengikuti. Matur nuwun, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, matur nuwun sangat Pak Wali, sangat-sangat impresif ya. Kita lihat perubahan drastis dari Semarang selama kepemimpinan panjenengan. Terima kasih. Ini kami tahu sekali bahwa Semarang ini kota yang hebat, banyak mendapatkan penghargaan ya dari beberapa institusi, termasuk dari pemerintah Indonesia, dan juga pasti banyak ya nanti. Ini juga banyak pertanyaan dari untuk Pak Wali ya. I hope you can stay until end ya.
Ya. Terima kasih Bu.
Ya, terima kasih, hebat sekali. Dan jadi pengen tinggal di Semarang ini. Karena memang Semarang ini salah satu kota yang toleransinya juga tinggi sekali, salah satu tertinggi di Indonesia. Tapi saya sangat impress dengan apa yang tadi disampaikan.
Bu Bernadia, I think you're muting.
Something wrong with my laptop. Anyway, terima kasih sekali Pak Hendy. Next, let me invite second mayor of speaker this time. Let me now invite. Can I ask the lady first before Mayor Kauyan? I hope it's okay with you, Mayor Bernard.
Yes, of course.
Let me invite Mayor Abi as the next speaker for this session. Mayor Abi, you also given 15 minutes. This is also one of the best cities in Philippines and with a lot of initiatives. And I'm very sure your presentation will also be very impressive. Over to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Bernadia. Hold on, let me fix my. Okay.
Distinguished officials of the Open Government of Indonesia, members of the Open Government Partnership, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to join this forum and share Makati City's digital innovations aimed to promote transparency and accountability. Our city's journey towards digital
Pertama-tama,
about 3 years ago when I set my sights
Open Government dimulai 3 tahun lalu ketika
after we put in place reforms to restore efficiency and compassion in our services, we invested in modernizing our DRRM equipment that now include the first mobile command center procured by a local government in Asia. It is intended to serve as our main backup command center should the central command post become inaccessible, as our main backup command center should become inaccessible or non-functional. Smaller mobile command units with their own Wi-Fi hubs have also been turned over to our peacekeeping forces and rescue teams to facilitate communication during emergencies. We purchased new patrol cars, fire trucks, and emergency vehicles, and even lapel cameras or body cameras for local police and deputized enforcers to promote transparency. We installed high-resolution CCTV cameras on major roads and intersections and strategic locations in the barangays. These are connected to our main command center at City Hall called C3, which runs on an Internet of Things platform. All software systems of various ICT equipment are linked and integrated in the city's integrated operation center system. It is worth mentioning that Makati was the first local government unit in Southeast Asia to implement a free pet microchipping program where pet dogs and cats are implanted with ISO certified eye chips using RFID technology. A database stores vital information such as owner's name and address and vaccination records. To date, nearly 9,000 pets have been microchipped, and we aim to keep Makati rabies-free and promote responsible pet ownership, as well as facilitate their identification of ownership of lost pets, especially in a disaster. As we modernized our tools for resilience, we also invested in intensive capability building in all levels of the city government. Key city officials and urban planners underwent a comprehensive executive program with the Asian Institute of Management designed to have our expertise in addressing challenges such as climate change and in promoting sustainable and inclusive development. The program included learning and benchmarking visits to Christchurch in New Zealand, Kobe in Japan, Taipei in Taiwan, and Los Angeles, USA. I ended up in Barcelona. So under an executive program for smart city initiatives with the Development Academy of the Philippines, we also did study tours in pioneering smart cities like Vienna in Austria and Barcelona, Spain, to learn from their best practices. The smart city concept was cascaded to the rank and file employees through seminar workshops to prepare them for the changes as we pursue the city's digital transformation. Through partnerships with industry leaders in telecoms and IT, we launched 3 digital initiatives in 2017. The Makati Zen Card is a unified, multi-purpose government-issued citizen ID that consolidates all health and social benefits for over 500,000 residents and City Hall employees. It allows greater transparency and efficiency in the implementation of various social welfare programs of the city. The Makati Zen app is the first of its kind digital citizen app in the country, which provides users access to current news, emergency hotlines, guide for investors, and other online registration for various programs. The Makati Public Wi-Fi system provides free internet service to residents, students, and workers via a fiber optic cable loop installed in 27 barangays of the city. It aims to provide easier and wider public access to government information and services. All these preparations and innovations came into play when the pandemic struck last year. Upon the declaration of the health emergency, we were able to shift gears and operate on emergency mode. We instantly activated our incident command system and established our incident command post to ensure continuity of services. We were able to mobilize our resources to provide urgent relief assistance to vulnerable sectors and the general populace. The Makati Zen card came in handy in the contactless distribution of cash incentives to hundreds of thousands of affected residents. In fact, Makati was the first in the country to implement automated distribution of cash aid during the pandemic. The Makati Zen app significantly improved the city's responsiveness to emergencies, including serious COVID cases, as it allows users to report these to the command center. We have also made it the access point to the My Makati free Wi-Fi access to free internet connection, which has boosted citizen engagement through our social media platforms. Coping with the pandemic has given rise to many other technology-enabled solutions in the city. With a hospital management information system in place, we are able to quickly establish the e-consult telemedicine program at Hospital ng Makati for outpatients to reduce the risk of virus transmission. To date, we have served nearly 67,000 patients. Residents, real estate, and business owners can now pay their taxes and renew their business permits through online and mobile banking using the Makati Zen online assessment and payment portal. This solves the problem of implementing minimum public health standards since people do not need to go to City Hall and line up to process their documents. To support Makati Zen merchants and boost our local economy, we have launched a cash aid program for business owners through our digital stimulus packages. And to promote public safety and convenience as we gradually reopen businesses, Makati has developed a QR code system to make it easier for people who move around Makati every day. Getting a QR code is very easy since they only need to visit the You Make Makati Safe website and register using their Makati Zen card. Another innovation is the locally developed COVID-19 tracker that can be used for case investigation, patient symptom observations, and contact tracing. It shows the number of cases, deaths, recoveries, and trends for in-depth analysis. We also use the Geographic Information System, or the GIS, to track actual time data on available vaccines and the total number of vaccines administered. Technology has made it possible for a city council to continue its crucial function of legislating urgent policies to address the health emergency. Even before the pandemic, all sessions and public hearings have been live streamed on the city's My Makati Facebook page for transparency. The only difference now is that they conduct sessions and public consultations via online platform. The same goes for the City Development Council and vital special bodies that need to continue performing vital functions for local government. In the area of public information, the pandemic has pushed citizen engagement via social media to an all-time high. Our official Facebook page, My Makati, has doubled its number of followers before the pandemic. By providing regular updates about the city's initiatives and policies related to COVID-19, it has become the top source of information for netizens, which include residents and non-residents who work or do business in the city. Friends, we in the city of Makati believe that truly smart cities put the people's needs and welfare first. This is why our efforts to achieve digital transformation are constantly focused on optimizing the advantages of technology to make quality public services highly accessible and beneficial to all our citizens. I've made a commitment to transform Makati into a thriving 21st century metropolis that is progressive, inclusive, and sustainable, and is proudly at par with premier cities around the globe. I hope that through initiatives such as the Open Government Partnership, collaboration among government leaders and development partners will continue to be strengthened and expanded across the globe. This pandemic has underscored our need to learn from one another and synchronize our efforts to build resilient, future-ready communities where prosperity is shared by all citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Abby, for very good presentations. You also managed to transform your city into a better place to live and optimizing also the usage of technology. Very impressive. If colleagues, everyone, if you don't know where Makati is located, it's actually in the Metro Manila. It's in the center of Metro Manila. So when you land to Manila, it's actually close to Makati. So thank you once again, Mayor, for a very impressive presentation. I'm very sure there will be a lot of questions to you as well. Thank you. Let me invite Mayor Benrat from Cauayan City. This is the city I've never been, so looking forward to having your presentation. You have also another 15 minutes. 1-5.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bernardia, and good to see you. To the OGI of Open Government Indonesia, thank you for the invite for us to be able to present what we're doing in Kawayan. And of course, to my fellow presenters, Mayor Abby and Mayor Hendrar, to each and everyone, a pleasant morning. Please allow me to share my screen. I think my attorney Reina will share my screen. I would like to start my discussion by introducing to you the city of Kawayan, giving you a short background of Kawayan City. Kawayan City is located 365 kilometers north of the Philippines. We are a highly agricultural city, and we are the poorest city in terms of income. We have about 160,000 inhabitants, and this is where we take pride on how a small, poor, and highly agricultural city was able to evolve as the Philippines' first smarter city. Kawayan City was given the recognition as the Philippines' first smart city by the Department of Science and Technology on March 25 in 2015. And when the United Nations launched the new 17 Sustainable Development Goals, Kawayan City took the lead in localizing these goals, which we call Labing Pitong Hamon sa Bawat Kawayanyo, or 17 challenges for every citizen of Kawayan, where all plans and programs of the LGU are aligned for the achievement of these global goals. And the Smarter Cities project has greatly contributed for the achievement of most of these goals. At this point, let's watch this video presentation to see the different accomplishments of the Smarter City Kawayan project. permit. Kawayan City first. Since the time we started with the Smart Cities project in 2015, the following years have been banner years for Kawayan City as we have received national commendations and international awards. With all of these awards, what is really awarding and fulfilling in this journey is how we have successfully reached the third generation of Smart City, being able to encourage active engagement from the people of Kawayan. It is rewarding to see how people have embraced science and technology. Our barangays are now smarter barangays, where they started incorporating these technologies in governing their people at their own initiative. Like, for example, here, they are now using QR codes for household profiling, which is helpful for relief assistance distribution. They also encouraged their constituents to put aquaponics in their own backyards, police drones for their public safety, smart bins for solid waste management. They started using online platforms for information dissemination, communication with other barangays, and the LGU. So at this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, where everything goes online, the people of Kawayan already got a head start in using these new technologies, which is a success story for the local government because we can see that people are adaptive to innovation. There remains a challenge, the resistance from other people to use these technologies, but throughout the years, we've seen how they make innovation as part of their day-to-day lives. You see, we have accomplished so much, but truly, there are still a lot to do. Especially at these trying times, every day is a day to learn, explore, and collaborate. Again, all of these will never be possible if not because of the support and trust of the Department of Science and Technology and Isabela State University. Again, thank you for giving us this opportunity, and I hope we were able to inspire you with this humble experience of Kawayan City, that smart cities are not only for big or metro cities. If it can be done in a city which is poor in terms of income, small and highly agricultural city like Kawayan City, then there's no reason for other cities not to be able to do it. We still have a long way to go, so for further collaboration and other concerns, you may contact us at these details and we'd be glad to be working with you. Thank you and mabuhay.
Mabuhay, salamat. Thank you very much, Mayor Bernard, for a very good presentation. So everyone, we heard three excellent speakers from three great mayors today. And I'm sure all of you have been inspired by these presentations from Mayor Hendy, Mayor Bernard, Mayor Abi. I know this transformation is not easy, mayors. Before I ask participants for questions, let me give you also one question. You have gone through these transitions from a government that are not open to, could you please, okay. From government that are not open to government that are not and that are now open. You also change the habit on the attitudes of the people, and the people are able to engage more in the process. You provide a space for the people to engage with you, with your administration. You also have what you call it this command control. You also have what we call it lapor handy, something that the people can also express their views, their opinions, and also, of course, their complaints. So when you pass these transitions, what you see as a big challenge? I know that Mayor Bernard, you mentioned that technology, the people and using the technology, you see it as a challenge. But I would like to ask every one of you, Mayor, what you see as the big challenge when you do this transition or when you go into these transitions? Mayor Hendy, please. In bahasa is also okay, silahkan.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Bernadia. Kalau menurut saya tantangannya adalah merubah kebiasaan, baik di internal birokrasi maupun di masyarakat. Misalnya di internal birokrasi dulu sekali kan kita tahu pemerintahan itu seperti apa ya, seperti organisasi yang tidak tersentuh masyarakat. Masyarakat mau mengadu susah, masyarakat kemudian mau komplain terhadap sesuatu hal juga follow up-nya juga lama. Nah, ini kemudian kita paksa teman-teman birokrasi bahwa sebenarnya teman-teman pemerintahan atau birokrasi ini memang tugasnya melayani masyarakat. Jadi kita balik, yang tadinya pejabat adalah orang yang dilayani, hari ini pejabat harus melayani masyarakat. Ini tantangan pertama. Nah, yang kedua, tantangan dari masyarakat adalah tadinya mereka apatis terhadap perkembangan sebuah wilayah karena mereka merasa bahwa pemerintah ini berjalan sendiri. Nah, sekarang kita coba membuat kanal-kanal komunikasi. Ini sebuah tantangan yang harus segera dijawab oleh pemerintah. Jangan sampai kanal komunikasinya kita siapkan, masyarakat memberikan masukan, tapi pemerintahnya nggak follow up dengan cepat. Maka di dalam setiap sistem pelaporan masyarakat, timeline-nya hari ini kita buat semakin cepat. Dulu waktu launching lapor Hendy yang pertama, tindak lanjut ini maksimal 10 hari. Sudah sekitar 3 tahun kita buat maksimal 5 hari untuk menindaklanjuti semua persoalan komplain yang disampaikan masyarakat. Nah, memang agak bias antara jumlah aduan yang banyak itu menandakan kotanya belum baik atau jumlah aduan yang banyak menandakan partisipasi masyarakat yang besar. Buat saya tidak perlu didiskusikan. Justru masukan masyarakat itu bisa kita buat sebagai evaluasi bahwa yang sedang dikerjakan oleh pemerintah masih harus ada yang disempurnakan. Begitu, Bu.
Matur nuwun, saya setuju sekali ya tadi yang disampaikan Pak Hendy bahwa jumlah komplain itu bukan menjadi indikator ya bahwa kota itu tidak merespon dengan baik, tetapi bisa juga menjadi indikator di mana masyarakat ingin terlibat lebih banyak lagi, dan sekarang dengan alat partisipasinya dengan alat dan teknologi yang disediakan ini membuka peluang buat masyarakat untuk menyampaikan aspirasi mereka. Ini saya setuju sekali dengan panjenengan tadi. Tadi juga disampaikan oleh Pak Wali bahwa ini ya perubahan sikap ya, attitude from the government people now is to serve the people. I think this is also quite interesting to note because compared to the past local governments, this serving to the people was not in their mind. So I think this is quite interesting also to hear from Mayor Hendy. I would like to ask Mayor Abi what you see as a big challenge when you transform your city into open government city.
I think the bigger challenge will be changing policies, especially having to adapt to the changing times. For example, e-governance, e-commerce, tax collection for e-commerce, data privacy, cybersecurity. I think those are things that needs to be addressed now than later, because we have so much data and we have to ensure that the data is secure and that they're not subject to human use or misuse of information. I think there's also the issue of the generation gap. The elderly or the seniors are having difficulty in adapting to technology because of it's new to them. So we are used to teaching kids, but it's difficult to teach the older people. Because they're not very open to learning. But I think because of the pandemic, they are forced, whether they like it or not, to embrace technology, to be able to get social services, to be able to get help, to tell their complaints. So whether they like it or not, the elderly needs to learn and maybe ask help from their grandchildren or their children to teach them and to embrace technology.
Thank you, Mayor. Indeed, it's sometimes quite challenging to teach senior citizens or much older people, but we see a lot of good opportunities that is because of the COVID-19. We are forced to digitalize also our system. This is also something that whether we like it or not, as you said, that we really have to change, and somehow this I think giving us a good opportunity that this is a time now for cities and regions like you, Mayor, to change and grab this opportunity for a better life of the people. So thank you, Mayor Abi. Mayor Bernard, do you have any other challenge you want to share here? Just now you mentioned about technology, the same concern that Mayor Abi also said.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much similar. It remains to be a challenge. It will be an ongoing challenge, I think, in our day-to-day activities, because people are really used. Every time you introduce change, whether it be through technology or something, they're really against it. But especially now with technology, coming from a city that's predominantly farmers, so they're not really into that technology side. So it remains to be a constant challenge. But I think what's most important is just us not to give up and to be persistent and really giving them and providing all these technologies. And what's best result will be for them to adopt to it and use it. So unless and until they are able to use and show it that it improves their lives, then that's a time that we can say, okay, yeah, I told you, I told you so. So I guess one of the best things that this pandemic gave us is really to make people embrace technology, as Mayor Abi said, whether we like it or not. We have to adapt to technology. So yeah, that's it. I think technology is here to stay. It's the new oil. We just have to embrace it.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And of course, we have to feel blessed that we still survive in this difficult situation, difficult moment. Actually, I have received a lot of questions to three of you, mayors, and many said it's really great presentation. And also, one person also mentioned that they want to visit your city, Mayor Hendy. He's actually from Tual, Maluku. Dari Maluku, Bapeda, head of Bapeda, said that he wants to visit the city and learn from.
Silakan kalau mau ke Semarang, nanti kita traktir kuliner di Semarang.
Oh, that's good. So if you visit Semarang, the mayor will buy you lunch, free lunch, or give you a dinner. Thank you. I'm very sure, Mayor, many of participants would like to visit your city. I also like your city anyway. Yeah, let me read, or maybe before I read these questions, I like to give a chance to Dato Amrullah Kamal to say a few words here. I think I have seen also Mayor Iriga here, but I don't know if she's still around. But Dato Amrullah, you listened three excellent presentations from three great mayors here. Could you also say a few words?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Excellency Ibu Dr. Bernadia. To the three mayors, congratulations. I think the cities that you led will be very much thankful to you, whatever new things that you're putting, as long as it's digitalized somehow. But I have a few questions though, to the three of them. Is that allowed? Dr.
Yes.
Yeah, like for example, the Semarang, yeah. Now with the digitalized, Tuan menyatakan tadi bahwa memang lebih banyak yang mengadu, kan? Tetapi pengaduan ini memang yang dianggap lebih. So apakah usaha-usaha Tuan untuk memberikan respon yang mencukupi, sebab aduan ini memang lebih banyak daripada dahulu, kan? Kalau dengan digitalized memang lebih banyak. So apakah headquarters ataupun pusat akan menambah peruntukan atau tidak untuk membantu Tuan dalam menambah pekerja, menambah machinery, sebab mengadu tetap mengadu, tapi kalau pihak daripada Tuan tidak respond accordingly, memang terkena semula, kan? Nah, itu untuk pada Tuan lah. Can I have a question also for Mayor Abigail? You were saying just now that you've started putting chips into the pets, yeah? Now, I suppose the vaccination is already ongoing in Makati, in Philippines overall. Malaysia, as it is now, we have 30 million, 35 million of population, and already 10.4 million has already registered. And so far, only 1.4 has been vaccinated somehow. So my question is, through these few days, there are few individuals who has put magnet on the wherever it's been vaccinated, right? But we do not know whether that is part of the chips or not. So my question is, now that you put the chips onto the pets, is there any possibility that perhaps the human will also be placed in the same order somehow? Okay, before you answer, then maybe if I can for Mr. From Kayangan. Okay, you see, through this pandemic, everyone has been affected economically, yes? And all the folks had been all down, all business down. And I think, like in my place, Tawau and Sabah in particular, we've got a lot of roadblocks, and you have limited movements. We've got MCO. We can't be moving around. We've got we can't move all around. In certain places, it's locked down. So how do you help your folks in getting through the days? It's been almost 2 years now, 1 year plus. Like here, we exempt them from paying rentals lah. You know, they don't have to pay those in the marketplace. They don't have to pay rents. In effect, the council is suffering on incomes. So how do you overcome that? Thank you.
Who would like to answer first?
Okay, me first.
Okay.
Okay. No, we do not. I don't think, not even in the near future, that we will put anything or magnet or microchip our citizens. We actually issue a QR code for our vaccination cards that eventually we can open up, that can be used as a vaccination passport, meaning if you enter into a restaurant, they can scan the card to show whether you've completed your vaccination or not. So I think that will be microchipping. Actually, the microchipping of animals have been, in a way, a little bit controversial.
Yeah.
Because they keep on quoting the Bible. Because there's a verse in the Bible that's part of I don't know, something about being controlled by the microchip or something. That I think they think too much about the microchipping. So I don't think it's something possible for our citizens. So we only do a QR code, and I think the Makati Zen ID it's enough. It's enough on identification. I know you addressed a question to Mayor Bernard regarding tax collection. I agree that there has been a considerable decrease in tax collection, but I think as long as you know how to prioritize your funds and you know what's important, we had the city of Makati is fortunate that we didn't have to sacrifice any of our projects because we had enough savings from the previous years. So there was a slight decline in our income in our tax collection, but we were still able to sustain our programs without sacrificing a specific project or even giving a tax amnesty, because our tax collection still was actually manageable during the first quarter of the year. Mayor Bernard.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Abby. Thank you, Mayor Kamal, for the question. Yeah, since last year, since the start of the lockdowns last year, we've been giving our constituents food or cash subsidy, depending on the type. So that comes from the national government, the provincial government, and the local government. So since then, we've been opening, closing, opening, closing, the different kinds of quarantines, types of quarantines that we have. But up until this day, every time there's a lockdown, but basically what we are implementing in Kawayan is every time there's 2 or more calibrated lockdown. So a calibrated lockdown will have to close the entire city, just the establishment or the house, the street where they live. So every time there's a calibrated lockdown, we will send supplies, food supplies for at least a 10-day period for them not to be able to. And definitely, yes, it did hurt our income, but not as much. Surprisingly, because we're a highly agricultural pandemic started, has been unhampered. So all the produce are unhampered. Everything goes as business as usual. So surprisingly, from our Bureau of Internal Revenue, the department, the national government in charge of collecting income, we've already surpassed our target in the first quarter. So that's something good. At least our citizens are not hungry, and small, medium businesses that have closed, that have, especially the restaurants, the bars, those people. But generally, maybe I think 80% are so far.
Actually, what Mayor Bernhard said is very correct. Based on our findings, this COVID-19 has been affecting people at the urban areas much more than in the rural sites. And this is also shown, Mayor Abby mentioned that she also, received less revenue this year or last year because of COVID. But actually, Mayor Abby, you are very fortunate because your city is richest city in the Philippines, where there is a business district zone and all the embassies also located there. It's just good that Mayor managed very well the fundings that she has, because there are also rich cities that that have a lot of money but cannot allocate money for priorities of the people, but anyway. So let me ask Mayor Hendy, could you answer also the questions from Dato' Kamal?
Ya, Pak Wali Kota Amrullah Kamal, saya merasa bahwa apa yang disampaikan Pak Amrullah Kamal ini juga sedang terjadi di birokrasi pemerintah Kota Semarang. Tapi saya selalu motivasi mereka bahwa ini adalah sebuah konsekuensi logis dari birokrasi yang ada di Indonesia, terutama di Semarang. Birokrasi di kita ini kan dibiayai oleh rakyat, jadi sudah menjadi kewajiban untuk menyelesaikan persoalan-persoalan yang ada di masyarakat. Beda pada saat kita digaji oleh sebuah perusahaan, ya tugas kita menyelesaikan tugas dari perusahaan-perusahaan tersebut. Nah, maka kadang-kadang jam kerja yang ada di Kota Semarang ini sudah bukan jam 7 pagi sampai jam 3 sore, tapi jam 7 pagi sampai pekerjaan selesai. Kadang sore baru pulang, kadang malam, terutama kalau hujan, kita bersihkan sampah-sampah di saluran, itu juga baru tuntas. Tapi itulah, semua pekerjaan harus kita nikmati, supaya pada saat kita happy ini tidak pernah kita mengeluh tentang pekerjaan kita. Nah, tapi saya hari ini Pak Wali Kota, kami beri mereka insentif yang cukup tinggi. Kalau perbandingan Semarang ini di Jawa Tengah, ada tunjangan penghasilan pegawai di luar gaji, teman-teman pemerintah Kota Semarang yang jumlahnya lebih tinggi dari daerah-daerah lain di Jawa Tengah. Tapi konsekuensi logisnya mereka harus kerja keras. Jadi begitu Pak, aduan yang semakin banyak adalah bentuk partisipasi masyarakat. Terima kasih Pak.
Saya setuju sekali Pak Hendy, bahwa pegawai daerah ya itu memberikan servis yang baik ya. Saya masih ingat saya tinggal di Jepang 20 tahun ya. Jadi kalau kita ke City Hall itu wah kita dilayani dengan baik sekali, sampai kalau ada kesalahan they will ask for really big apology. So
Ibu Berna, I think you're muting again.
Something wrong with my microphone. Anyway, I think this has been a very interesting discussions. Let me go through now several questions written in the chat. Let me read one by one here. The first one came from, wait a second, give me a second, dari Galih. He has a question. What is the very first step that need to do for a city that wants to transform into smart cities, such as Makati, also Semarang? So question to both of you, Mayor Abi and Mayor Hendy. And then give me one more to read here another question. Another question from here, wait a second. We also have someone from the media. I hope it's okay if I read the question. So he's from wartawanserat.id. He has a question to Pak Hendrar Prihadi. Pertama, jika saat ini Kota Semarang memprioritaskan anggaran COVID, mengapa data testing dan tracing masih kurang? Tercatat pada hari ini data positif rate-nya Semarang masih 20%. Tindakan dari Pak Hendy ke depan apa? Yang kedua, dalam konsep Semarang Smart City, mengapa Semarang tidak memiliki transportasi yang bisa diakses pada malam hari? Apakah ke depannya akan direncanakan atau dirancangkan? Yang ketiga, banyak sekali pertanyaan. Terkait keberlanjutan aplikasi yang dibuat Pemkot Semarang, apakah ada pengawasan dan evaluasi dari keberlanjutan aplikasi ini? Misalnya aplikasi Kota Lama Semarang pada tahun 2019 yang sudah tidak dapat diakses lagi. Keempat, terkait masih maraknya kasus begal di Kota Semarang, apakah Pak Hendy ada upaya preventif untuk mencegah kejahatan yang terjadi di kalangan remaja? Anyway, I will continue later, but I'll give us to.
I think the very first step that you need to build is your backbone, your infrastructure. The very first infrastructure is your internet connectivity. Without the internet connectivity, all the IoT, all the technology, all the data that you plan to collect will be irrelevant if you are not interconnected. So make sure that you have the backbone, which is your fiber optics, to ensure that everything else will follow after that.
Okay, thank you. Silakan Pak Hendy.
Pertama di persoalan kesehatan, memang anggaran kita fokus itu tahun 2020, kita arahkan refocusing kita di wilayah kesehatan. Tapi itu juga jadi masalah karena dari rencana APBD 5,2 triliun kita kehilangan 800 miliar pendapatan. Sehingga memang harus putar otak untuk bisa menyelesaikan PR-PR karena pandemi COVID. Positive rate memang tinggi karena belajar dari sebuah pengalaman. Di awal-awal kita lakukan tracing ke beberapa kelompok masyarakat, di pasar, di mal, dan seterusnya. Tapi dengan keinginan untuk melakukan efisiensi anggaran, akhirnya tracing perlahan-lahan selama 3 bulan, 4 bulan terakhir kita lakukan untuk yang punya kontak erat. Nah, kami punya rencana bahwa terkait dengan ke depan, tracing ini akan kita lakukan penambahannya di mana semua pasien puskesmas yang batuk, pilek, influenza nanti akan kita swab supaya lebih pasti lagi. Kemudian siswa dan guru kita merencanakan bulan Juli akan melakukan tatap muka. Hari ini terus kita lakukan swab buat siswa dan guru. Dengan demikian hari ini tercatat ada pelaksanaan tes PCR selama setahun ini sudah mencapai 78.116 orang. Yang positif ada 25.000 atau sekitar 32,4. Memang ukurannya tinggi karena kita tracingnya belum bisa semasif jumlah penduduk yang ada di Kota Semarang. Yang kedua persoalan mengenai transportasi. Kami punya BRT yang melayani 9 koridor, utara, selatan, timur, barat, Kota Semarang. Kita melayani masyarakat mulai dari jam 5 pagi sampai jam 8 malam. Kalau selebihnya jam 8 malam, saya rasa hari ini seluruh warga di Indonesia, khususnya di Semarang, nggak kesulitan. Ada, mohon maaf nyebut merek nih, Gojek, GoCar, ada Grab, ada berbagai macam transportasi online yang hari ini tumbuh berkembang dengan luar biasa 24 jam, termasuk taksi-taksi online yang ada. Nah, terkait dengan keberlanjutan aplikasi, kami punya dinas yang namanya Kominfo. Kominfo ini tugasnya berbagai macam, salah satunya adalah melakukan komunikasi dan koordinasi yang terintegrasi dengan dinas-dinas terkait dengan update dari aplikasi. Kami sudah menanyakan aplikasi Kota Lama itu ada di portal kita, semarangkota.go.id, tinggal dia ditambahin Kota Lama yang tadi juga saya cek kayaknya sudah update. Ini mohon maaf, ini mungkin aplikasi Kota Lama 2019, apakah benar milik pemerintah Kota Semarang atau milik swasta, saya tidak paham. Kemudian terkait dengan kasus maraknya begal, saya rasa di kota-kota besar ini menjadi sebuah persoalan yang hampir sama, di mana begal atau keinginan dari seseorang untuk bisa lebih hidupnya, tapi tidak dengan cara yang profesional dalam arti punya kemampuan intelektual dan kemampuan skill, tapi mereka kemudian melakukan kejahatan. Nah, di tingkat preventif kami libatkan ibu-ibu kita yang tergabung di dalam PKK. Ada juga ibu-ibu kita yang tergabung di dalam Dharma Wanita dan semua organisasi wanita yang lain yang ada di GOW, untuk kemudian kita berikan pemahaman bahwa pembinaan yang terbaik itu dimulai dari keluarga. Anak-anak muda kita itu memang kondisinya pasti semua mengalami yang punya anak muda, godaan lingkungannya luar biasa. Tapi dengan benteng yang kuat dari keluarga, insya Allah itu menjadi sebuah langkah preventif supaya mereka tidak melakukan aktivitas kegiatan yang merugikan dirinya maupun keluarga yang bersangkutan. Begitu Bu Bernard, terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Satu lagi pertanyaan Pak Hendy, untuk tadi apa first step ya, untuk mencapai kota yang smart ya, atau kota yang apply open government. Step pertama apa yang dilakukan?
Oh ya, tadi tambahannya coba Mas Salim, ada nggak? Kalau kami merasa bahwa smart city ini tidak melulu bicara tentang digitalisasi. Smart city yang sedang kita kembangkan adalah sebuah pola pembangunan yang arahnya untuk bisa melayani masyarakat secara lebih cepat dan lebih baik. Lakukan reformasi birokrasi, dibantu digitalisasi misalnya e-government bisa. Lakukan kemudian pelayanan publik yang meminimalkan pungli secara digitalisasi online juga bisa. Nah, tahapan-tahapan kita mulai dari tahun 2013. Kita MOU dengan salah satu BUMN, yaitu sebut saja Telkom. Kita nggak punya standar waktu itu Bu Bernard, sehingga kita waktu itu punya sebuah komitmen yang kuat, BUMN mau bantu, kita punya target, oke kalau gitu 10.000 hotspot harus dibangun. Tapi setelah setahun ternyata baru 2.300. Kenapa harus dilawan itu? Supaya masyarakat punya fasilitas komunikasi atau media online yang semakin mudah. Lalu tahun 2015 kita mulai membangun beberapa aplikasi. 2016 kita buat komitmen smart government. Semua teman-teman yang ada di birokrasi harus wajib hukumnya untuk melek teknologi dan memanfaatkan konsep smart city. Kemudian 2017 mengintegrasikan sistem dinas ke dalam situation room. Kemudian 2018 dan seterusnya. Yang di 2019 adalah kita meletakkan 10.500 CCTV yang ada di tiap RT. Jadi ini jumlahnya masih kurang. Target kami tiap RT minimal ada 3 CCTV. Sehingga keamanannya bisa ditekan, persoalan analitiknya kemudian juga bisa kita lakukan. Kita bisa lihat crowd-nya masyarakat, crowd-nya parkir, pendapatannya balance atau tidak. Kemudian juga pompa-pompa yang kemungkinan karena Semarang ini rentan dengan banjir harus aktif dan seterusnya. Saya rasa tahapan-tahapan kami seperti itu.
Terima kasih. I want to go to Mayor Benrat for the same question. What the first step that needed to do this so that your city could be transformed into a better city?
Yeah, actually, the first step is to really acknowledge that you want to use technology and recognize that technology can help the city. But as of now, I think, Dr. Bernadia, I think most of the cities are already doing smart cities project. They just don't know it. A lot of people just don't know it, especially during this time of pandemic. Everything is digital. It's really up to the city to embrace the technology and really take advantage of it. There are a lot of KPIs already that measure what kind of smart cities you want to become. There are guides already all over the the different parts of the world, regardless of what size your city is. I think there's already a fit smart city that you can align yourself into. So I think everybody is on the right track, embracing technology at this time.
Yes. Thank you very much. I have another question here, came from Rizal dari IAPA. Ya, izin bertanya kepada Wali Kota Semarang perihal penguatan kapasitas Kota Semarang untuk menjadi smart city ke depan. Apakah persentase masyarakat yang melek digital atau memiliki literasi digital cukup tinggi, dan apakah sudah diupayakan oleh kota untuk memfasilitasi pemerataan penggunaan digitalisasi di semua aspek, semisal di SKPD dengan menerapkan sistem pemerintahan berbasis elektronik secara penuh dan ditunjang sarana dan prasarananya. Yang kedua, ini pertanyaan juga untuk Pak Hendy ya, khusus untuk musrembang online, cukup menarik ya. Apakah penerapan perencanaan memiliki dampak signifikan atau jauh lebih efektif dilakukan dengan sistem online digital bantuan teknologi daripada konvensional untuk menyerap aspirasi masyarakat pada khususnya di tingkat level paling bawah, misalnya di rukun warga? Ini dua pertanyaan untuk Pak Hendy, silakan.
Ya, coba Pak Aling pertanyaannya bisa ditampilkan. Jadi begini, Bu Bernard dan Bapak Ibu sekalian. Yang pertama, kita sedang melakukan hal pelayanan yang sifatnya mix atau campuran. Bahwa pelayanan secara online menjadi hal yang harus kita lakukan hari ini. Melihat kemajuan teknologi informasi yang sedemikian besar, kemudian kita juga melihat animo masyarakat terkait pelayanan yang lebih cepat, yang luar biasa. Tapi tidak boleh kemudian kita kesampingkan, masih cukup banyak warga di Semarang yang dia sampai hari ini belum memanfaatkan kemajuan teknologi informasi. Bagaimana Nyon Sewu, ibu-ibu tua, bapak-bapak tua yang ada di pelosok-pelosok kampung itu pasti dia nggak bisa memakai konsep pelayanan secara online. Maka yang kita lakukan adalah di mix nih Bu Benar. Ada konvensional yang tetap dilayani oleh birokrasi di kantor, tapi juga ada model online. Nah, menuju ke SPBE sedang kita lakukan. Hari ini terus kita lakukan upgrade dan update data terkait dengan big data. Masing-masing OPD ini coba kita bisa buat menjadi terintegrasi. Harapannya supaya nantinya di dalam program-program yang berbasis elektronik itu bisa lebih siap. Tapi kita sedang menuju ke arah situ.
Terima kasih Pak Hendy. Ini juga ada satu pertanyaan lagi. Maybe this is also for all of you three mayors, because you come up with system in which you give a chance for people or community to give a feedback or aspiration. Do you also conduct like evaluation and monitoring on this process, especially? Yeah, and especially in this situation where people are, people basically want to engage more in the services as well. So could you answer that question? Maybe start from Mayor Bernard.
Yeah, thank you, Bernadette. We have two types of response for citizen engagement. Number one is we have a CRM, citizen response management. That's part of a whole approach that wherein people can call, can send online their queries, whether they have a broken street light or pothole, or if they didn't receive any financial assistance or goods or the city government is doing, the complaint up to when it is addressed, or where they could easily track where it goes. Next is we also have a partnership, a collaboration with the Academe, Isabela State University, to conduct citizen satisfaction index or survey, wherein they do a survey of all the programs of the local government and see whether or not the citizens appreciate it or use it the most. But ever since we've been doing that, it really turns out that there are a lot of citizens that don't know all of the programs of the LGU. Had they known, then things would be a lot easier and more convenient for everybody. So I think this is very important, the assessment of the satisfaction index. At the same time, for them to be able to voice out what needs to be done or their concern in their in their respective areas. That's it.
Thank you, Maybeth. May Abi?
So for the city of Makati, we actually use several social media platforms. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we also have a Twitter account. There's a downside to it because we are flooded with complaints, issues, whether it be 2 a.m. or on a weekend. So that's the downside of being too accessible. But we are able to address quickly their concerns, and I think some of them or a lot of them are surprised that actually people read their complaints, and we end up coming to their homes and validating their complaint and asking what is their concern. So it is in a way getting rid of the red tape or the bureaucracy. But somehow there's also an issue of they think that when they go to social media, you are supposed to immediately answer or immediately address their concern. Of course, there's logistics restraints. If they complain on a Sunday, who will answer them? But I think the fact that we have a steady increase of followers and people that, whether they are residents or non-residents in the city, that follow our social media platforms is a clear indication that it's working, and they know that they're being heard.
Thank you, Mayor. Last one for Pak Hendy ya. Ini dari Bu Tuti Ahmawati, Ketua Pusat Studi Center for Public Policy and Management Studies UNIKA Parayangan Bandung ya. Pernah menjadi wakil Kota Semarang selama masa sekolah dasar menengah, ikut bangga dengan capaian Kota Semarang katanya Pak. Pertanyaannya adalah bagaimana Kota Semarang melakukan pengukuran output ya. Mungkin pertanyaan sama yang tadi saya sampaikan, sampai dengan dampak dari inisiatif Smart City-nya. Apakah ada evaluasi rutin yang dilakukan, bukan hanya mengevaluasi pada proses bisnisnya saja, misalnya tingkat kematangan SPBI. Itu tadi pertanyaan dari Bu Tuti. Silahkan Pak.
Coba Mas datanya. Tolong diminta. Bu Bernard, kami punya data bahwa lapor Hendy yang kita launching di bulan Mei 2016 sampai dengan Oktober 2020 kemarin, tercatat ada 17.673 laporan. Dan 5 dinas terbesar yang dikomplain, pertama adalah perhubungan, 4.359, PU sekitar 2.400, PDAM 1.700, Satpol 1.400, dan yang kelima adalah Perkim 1.300. Nah, artinya hal-hal seperti ini memang kita sampaikan setiap bulanan di dalam rakor atau rapat koordinasi dengan OPD atau dinas. Kita berbicara bahwa pelaporan-pelaporan dari masyarakat ini sampai di mana tindak lanjut teman-teman dinas. Mereka mengatakan yang ini bisa Pak, sudah kita kerjakan, yang ini belum. Rata-rata dari setiap laporan kita maksimal sekitar 2-3% yang harus kita selesaikan di tahun anggaran berikutnya. Artinya kalau itu volume jalannya berlubang-lubang, kurang dari 5 hari pasti sudah mulus lagi. Tapi kalau kemudian ini saluran yang panjangnya 1 kilo, 2 kilo, yang harus dibangun karena untuk membuat wilayah bebas banjir, pasti kita akan memfollow up dengan jawaban bahwa tahun depan dianggarkan. Nah, itu hal-hal yang memang harus terkomunikasi dengan masyarakat. Saya selalu sampaikan pesan kepada teman-teman birokrasi, seburuk apapun hal yang harus kita lakukan itu masyarakat harus tahu. Misalnya bisa segera ditangani atau tidak, kalau segera ditangani laksanakan. Kalau tidak bisa segera ditangani, ya harus segera disampaikan pada masyarakat. Jangan biarkan masyarakat ini menunggu, digantung. Misalnya proses perizinan. Proses perizinan harus cepat. Kalau memang dia sudah tidak bisa membangun lokasi di situ, nggak bisa dikasih izin karena perda tata ruang yang tidak sesuai, ya harus disampaikan dengan cepat. Nah ini yang membuat masyarakat menjadi lebih nyaman mungkin dengan situasi digitalisasi ataupun smart city di Kota Semarang.
Terima kasih. Tadi juga Pak Wali sampaikan ya, dulu responnya membutuhkan waktu 10 hari, sekarang menjadi 5 hari ya. Itu merupakan pencapaian hampir setengahnya ya, 50%. Maksud saya lebih pendek lagi, memerlukan waktu untuk meresponnya. Hebat sekali Bapak. Ini ada pertanyaan dari Direktorat Kesehatan Lingkungan Kementerian Kesehatan Republik Indonesia. Oh, disampaikan langsung sendiri Pak Nugroho. Silakan. Atau saya baca saja?
Oke.
Silakan.
Thank you. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian, Pak Wali. Terima kasih dan selamat dan sukses Bapak.
Sama-sama Mas Nuh.
Ya, jadi terkait dengan digitalisasi governance ini memang menjadi satu tuntutan di zaman sekarang ini, sebab kalau tidak nanti akan serba ketinggalan dan mutu layanan dan kecepatan respon dari pemerintah dan pemerintah daerah sebagai bentuk suatu pelayanan terhadap masyarakat ini menjadi ketinggalan. Nah, terkait dengan hal ini kita dari Kementerian Kesehatan dan kementerian-kementerian lain sudah bersepakat di dalam suatu program yang namanya Kabupaten Kota Sehat. Dan perlu Bapak Ibu ketahui, Kota Semarang telah mendapatkan predikat Kabupaten Kota Sehat di tahun 2019 yang lalu, dan sepertinya tahun ini di tahun 2021 juga tetap ingin mempertahankan dan meningkatkan kualitas dari Kabupaten Kota Sehat di Kota Semarang. Nah, terkait dengan topik kita pada hari ini, maka kami di pusat itu telah mendiskusikan terkait dengan Smart City menjadi salah satu tatanan yang akan menjadi salah satu pilihan ya, bagi kabupaten kota di seluruh Indonesia untuk menyelenggarakan tatanan kabupaten kota sehat, di mana salah satunya nantinya adalah Smart City menjadi satu pilihan. Dan ini sangat bagus sekali, Kota Semarang telah menyelenggarakan Smart City, dan mudah-mudahan perangkat ini semakin tingkat kepuasan masyarakat terhadap layanan pemerintah daerah itu semakin tinggi, dan hal ini akan mencerminkan nantinya terhadap kesejahteraan masyarakat.
And also, this will be reflected into the welfare of the.
Terima kasih Mas Nuh. Terima kasih masukannya.
Terima kasih masukan. Terima kasih. Any more question from participant before we ask each mayor to give or deliver concluding remarks? I don't see any hands here. Any question? No? It's I think the.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Could you be saying shortly, yeah, please?
Okay. Yes. Thank you for the time. Yeah. At this moment, I want to ask to all of the mayor. Yes, about the complaint handling mechanism. How you can make sure that every complaint are handled at the time. So how if some complaint is not handling as fast as they needed? What will you do with that? Yeah, thank you.
Maybe another similar question also to every mayor, or maybe only for Semarang, sorry. Mohon penjelasan bagaimana implementasi SIPD dalam pengelolaan keuangan daerah di Kota Semarang. This question go to Mayor Hendy. You are still muting, Mayor.
Sorry, which one?
Jadi sistem pelaporan yang kami
After
pakai
the-
yaitu lapor handy, itu masyarakat bisa mengadukan lewat yang SMS 1708 atau bisa juga di Twitter, di Instagram, website yang dimiliki oleh pemerintah Kota Semarang. Kami hari ini sudah bekerja sama dengan KSP atau Kantor Staf Presiden, kemudian dengan program lapor. Semua masukan aduan itu kemudian diverifikasi oleh KSP. Dari hasil verifikasi dikembalikan ke Pemkot, kita kirim kepada OPD. Dan ini bisa termonitor. Tindak lanjutnya maksimal 5 hari. Maka hasil daripada tindak lanjut itu yang sudah dikerjakan, misalnya saluran yang macet, mohon maaf, jalan yang rusak, atau mungkin ada keramaian di wilayah kampung yang mengganggu tetangga, itu kemudian kita kirimkan hasilnya kepada masyarakat. Dan yang tidak kalah penting adalah bagaimana kita setiap bulan memantau. Kami punya sebuah ruang media untuk kita rapat koordinasi dengan dinas, yang salah satu agendanya adalah membahas dinas-dinas yang mempunyai pengaduan yang belum ditindaklanjuti. Jadi rutin, kontrol itu harus dilakukan. Kita boleh percaya sama anak buah, tapi jangan lupa kita tetap harus mengontrol apa yang dilakukan oleh staf dan anak buah kita, supaya kita tidak dibuat ABS asal Bapak senang. Itu harus selalu dikontrol. Kemudian pertanyaan berikut apa ya Bu Bernat?
Pengelolaan keuangan, Pak.
Pengelolaan keuangan, saya rasa
Implementasi SIPD dalam pengelolaan keuangan.
ya, kita punya yang namanya e-budgeting. Di dalam e-government kita mulai e-planning, e-budgeting, dan seterusnya. Di dalam rakor rakor OPD itu juga menjadi hal yang bisa membuat kita menganalisis kebijakan yang harus dilakukan dalam waktu dekat. Saya tadi sudah mencontohkan, misalnya Dinas PU dianggarkan 500 miliar. Ini sudah bulan Mei, yang terserap baru 50 miliar. Pasti ada hal yang harus dikoreksi. Kenapa serapannya rendah? Oh, ternyata belum melakukan lelang. Kenapa belum melakukan lelang? Oh, ternyata ada perubahan peraturan yang baru. Oke, kalau begitu minggu ini kita harus kejar ke ULP, kita kejar ke Kementerian Dalam Negeri untuk menyelesaikan persoalan aturan baru, dan seterusnya. Jadi rutin kita lakukan hal-hal pertemuan rutin, paling lambat 1 bulan sekali, atau bahkan mungkin seminggu bisa 2-3 kali tergantung situasi. Begitu Bu.
Thank you, Pak Andy. I want to ask Mayor Abi about the questions that she has given to us.
Well,
You handle those unanswered complaints and monitor.
Once you send an SMS or you send a message to any of our social media platforms, it is directly sent to the department. Actually, it depends. Like what they usually do is they send it to. We have a Viber group of where all our department heads are members. So we can immediately send a response to the reply to the complaint or to the text message. Otherwise, if it requires further action, it will be referred to the department, and the department will be the one to handle the response. But we do usually are able to provide answers quickly because the concerns are rather the same. So we are actually already have pre-prepared answers to their concerns.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Bernard, do you want to also answer that question?
Yeah, as part of our CRM or constituent response management, we have 3 days, 3 days to act on it. So again, the citizen can track where the complaint is. It's like a DHL tracking device. You know, you can track where your complaint has gone, if it has been answered or not. But again, these are for depending on the veracity of the complaint. If it can be solved easy as quick as replying to the message, then yeah. But if it will take like infrastructure, whether it be a broken bulb or things like that, it has to take a few days.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, there are more questions here, but since the time is almost over, let me ask each mayor to give a concluding remarks before I summarize what we discussed. Perhaps I should start with the lady mayor first. Mayor Abby, could you also speak and give us a concluding remarks?
So thank you, Bernardilla, for this opportunity. When I went to Barcelona, Spain, for the smart city, one thing that they kept on reiterating is, for a smart city, it's always people centric. It's not about the technology. So the heart of the smart city is still people. So the technology is a means to an end, to be able to provide efficient programs to your citizenry, to be able to become transparent, to become improve our governance. So technology is just a means. It is for us to use to be able to address the concerns of our citizens quickly, more efficiently, more cost effectively. But in the end, it's always about the people. If the people are not ready to embrace technology, or maybe we should help them embrace technology, assist them to embrace technology, because this is inevitable for us to be able to improve and become a sustainable city, a sustainable and smart city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Abby. I completely agree with you, and I think people here also appreciated what you said, that the people is the center, people are the center of development, and technology is a means and tools to achieve what goals that we have. Thank you, Mayor Abby, for a very impressive concluding remarks. Can I go now to Mayor Bernhard?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bernardilla, and again to Open Government Indonesia for the invitation. Again, yeah, technology is the new oil. It's here to stay, and we have to take full advantage of technology. It will improve lives. The reason why we have all these innovations and solutions is really to make lives better. So citizen engagement is critical in a smart city framework, as well as in a smart and sustainable city framework. The UN SDGs is a real good guide for us to be able to achieve those smart and sustainable cities. So all of these frameworks are already present, are already available. We just have to really delve into it. We just have to really put our minds and hearts to it for us to be able to achieve. At the end of the day, the bottom line is it's the citizens that will really be the great benefactors of all these endeavors in what we're doing in the local government. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for letting us share our humble experience to you guys.
Thank you, Mayor Bernhard. Mayor Hendy, please. Concluding remarks.
Ya, terima kasih kepada seluruh keluarga besar UCLG, Bu Bernhard dan semuanya yang sudah memberi kesempatan pada kita untuk bisa sharing. Juga saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada Mayor Abigail dari Filipina, kemudian ada Mayor Bernhard juga dari Filipina, yang hari ini kita bisa sharing berdiskusi tentang yang namanya sebuah smart city. Buat kami, smart city ini adalah upaya pelayanan Pemkot untuk bisa melayani masyarakat menjadi lebih baik dan lebih cepat. Ini bukan pertandingan banyak-banyakan aplikasi. Ini bukan pertandingan seberapa jauh teknologi yang kemudian harus dikeluarkan dengan biaya ratusan miliar, bahkan menyedot APBD. Tapi bagaimana dengan kemampuan masing-masing daerah, kita bisa menciptakan sebuah pelayanan baik. Dan kami berterima kasih sekali lagi bahwa hari ini saya ketemu dengan orang-orang yang luar biasa, yang ilmu-ilmunya insya Allah akan bisa kita pakai untuk bisa membuat Semarang semakin hebat. Matur nuwun, Bu Bernadja.
Matur nuwun sangat, Bapak juga hebat sekali.
Terima kasih, Bu.
Yeah, let me conclude by saying a big thanks to all three great mayors who made a very good presentation, excellent presentation. I think we should give a big applause to all the speakers here. I think some of you can show also this hands applause button. But what we see here, almost all of them have a kind of, kind of thought and actions, and quite similar, in which as the leaders, the task of the leaders is to serve the people. I see in all of these three mayors, your attitudes and also your thoughts and your visions for the cities. This is has been very, very great. And of course, you also learn from other cities' experiences, like Mayor Barcelona also gave, and the experience of Barcelona also has inspired Mayor Abi, for example. And we also see a lot of challenges in doing this transition, and sometimes these challenges came from our own bureaucracy. So, but this is again the process towards open governments and open or smart governments and smart cities. And I also agree with you that technology is the mean and tool in order to achieve whatever goals we want. But importantly is that you put the people as the center of development. I think this has been a very, very strong message that we heard from you today, that whatever we do, whatever you do, this also from the people. So I think this is has been a very, very great event, and I really would like to give a big thanks to all of you once again, and of course to OGI for organizing together with UCAG ASPAC on this. And I know one of the, the concern we always have after you leave, how can we continue of these good works that you have applied in your cities, because people sometimes wonder after the good
kelanjutannya. Kadang-kadang kalau pimpinan yang bagus itu
is also important thing that you might also have to think during your time. How can you institutionalize these things, your good works, and also good kind of experience and expertise that you can also continue this. I understand, Mayor Bernard, you want to leave next year as a mayor of Kaohsiung, but I really hope that these good works, the legacy all of you have, will remain, and then will also be continued by the next leaders. I think this is something that we all have to think together. And once again, thank you very much. And I also would like to thank all the participants for all the great questions you have. Here I can see that we spent almost 2 hours very quickly, although I know that many of you still want to ask a question, but please stay safe and remain healthy, because we have not passed this pandemic yet. There is also second wave and probably third wave. We experience whatever we see in India, but I really believe that togetherness with the people, we can pass a difficult time with great success. And please, I think we all are very clear that during this pandemic, we see a lot of opportunity that we can grab. So let's work together to promote this open and smart governments. We are ready to support you as we always do. And then you have been inspiring many of us today. Thank you very much, mayors, great mayors. So thank you. And I'd like to give chance back to Mbak Ichi, if you would like to close this, and then we can finish this. But thank you once again, Mayor. You have been very good and great. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Ibu Bernardia. I would also like to thank all the speakers today, Mr. Mayor Bernard, Mayor Abi, and Mayor Bahendi. I think today has been really fruitful discussion, and the next meeting, maybe we can touch ups and like do some follow-ups and do some collaboration in the next event. Yeah. Before we move on and close this webinar, let's cherish this moment with another photo session, maybe. For everyone who can and able to have their camera on,
because we reached 100, more than 100 participants. It was great. When we put the photo session, we only had like 30 participants, and now 105. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's do a photo session.
All right. So maybe the technical team can help us with this. All
Yes,
right.
Dion, please. Thank you.
We see a lot of people with their camera on. All right, there's 5 pages, so bear with us. Okay, the first page, you can smile. 3, 2. All right. The second page, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the third page, 3, 2, 1. Fourth page, 3, 2, 1. And the last page. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. I think this is not the last time we're going to meet with each other. So maybe you can also open your microphone and just say goodbye to one another. Thank you very much for today.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Bye.
Terima kasih Bu Bernadia. Terima kasih semua. Thank you.
Ya.
Thank you. It's been a pleasant participation.
Thank you.
Though I joined later, but it has been a very pleasant participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.